Assalamu rahmatullah. You do not have to have precedence of every action. For example, translation of Quran. Where is the precedence? Can you have translation of Quran in English? Is it permissible to do so? Yes, it is, because there's a need for it. The very reason for sending down Quran or revealing it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and passing it on to the community, to the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is to understand the message of Allah. So whatever it takes, if people can't understand one language, they must be given the opportunity of learning and understanding it in different language. Likewise, Quran has another facet to it, which is reading, recitation. So recitation of Quran is an obligation. So if one could recite directly because they know Arabic, then it's perfectly fine, and that's the actual way. However, if one doesn't know how to recite Quran, to try and do abatatha or abd, aj, bal, ba kafta, kaf lam mim, ba alif, nun alif, ta tha ya, ta mim ta, ba alif lam kha ya ra. All whatever you read, abadan, ahadan, ahadun, abada, akhada, adina, amara, bakhila. These are specific words which are put together in order to facilitate the reading of Quran or memorization of Quran is a requirement, collective obligation. People should have enough hifz of Quran so that they can pray. Or there should be enough Qurra, enough Huffaz who know Quran off by heart so as to preserve it, recite it in Taraweeh. Now, to memorize Quran, if one sits down and start memorizing by saying Inna nahnu nazzalna, Inna nahnu nazzalna, Inna nahnu nazzalna 20 times, 30 times, إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون وإنا له لحافظون وإنا له لحافظون, and then combine together إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون, and keep going like that. Is it precedence? This is how it should be recited? No, we do not need that, because the idea is to memorize Quran, to be able to read it. So whatever is the mechanism adopted at a certain time, provided that it does not go against any Sharia implication, then there's no harm and you do not need any precedence for that. To have small passages of Quran written in a book, then expressed or explained in order to make it easy for people to understand, is that okay or not? It is. Is there precedence for that? No. Making a sort of a scheme, a scenery which depicts the idea of Quran, which makes it easy for people to understand the core principle or idea, to use algorithm on slides, on PowerPoint. Is that okay? Yes, it is. Is there precedence? No. Because the idea is to understand Quran. Likewise, Quran is shifa. How would you get shifa from Quran? By reading Quran. There's a precedence of that. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he recited Surah Fatiha on a person in the village where someone was bitten by this snake, and he then recited Surah Fatiha and the person got cured. They had about 30 goats or camels or whatever from the tribe as a feast for that cure. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never taught this to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. When he came back, he informed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about that. He said, "MashaAllah, you've done a good job. How did you know about this particular surah and its benefit for the poison?" It was completely fine. Rasulullah ﷺ okayed it. Abdullah ibn Masud never knew it, but he did it with his own ijtihad, knowing that Quran is shifa, to use shifa in certain way, to blow on certain things. It's perfectly fine. Rasulullah ﷺ would recite a dua and blow it on Sayyidina Hassan and Hussein. أعيذكما بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة ومن كل عين لامة. With that we know something like this, a formula can be recited. Now, because if the formula happens to be quite big, quite long, you cannot write it down, people haven't memorized it, people do not know Arabic, then you try to come up with a solution whereby you could write the same whole long surah in different numbers, provided you do not make it a sunnah, you do not consider it a part of deen in any way, but rather a practice. It is like hanging one particular ayah of Quran on the wall of your room, which says, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over you. Inna Allah sami'un basir, Inna Allah khabirun basir. In order to make it easy for you to reflect on that ayah and refrain from any sin that you might commit when you're in seclusion. Is it haram? Is there precedence for that? Clearly not. So whatever it takes to get the benefit from the Quran, which Quran is capable of providing, in this case shifa, cure for certain disease, as long as it does not go against Sharia principle, it would remain okay. We do not need precedence for that. And even if that doesn't make any sense to you, whatever I just said, don't worry. You do not need to have a faith on it. You do not need to say that this is okay or not okay. If you do not believe it, that's fine. It is not part of Aqidah that you should believe that doing Ta'weed or writing down Quran in certain way, in this particular way, is okay or not. If you do not believe, then you are deviant, or if you do believe, then you are deviant. No, it's just a matter of ijtihad, and it has no Aqidah-wise implication. And to be honest, I don't do it, and I don't teach my students to ever do it. But if someone does it, I do not censure them and call them innovators, because it is not an innovation. Unless someone believes that this is part of faith, part of religious practice, part of sunnah, which it is not. So there has to be no practice for that by Rasulullah ﷺ or anyone. Because there are many things that you do today, there's no precedence for it. Doing khutbah in English, is there precedence for that? And who says that this is bid'ah? And you go, and for everyone who says everything else is bid'ah, they themselves do it day in, day out. And there's been no precedence of that in the last 1400 years. Yes, in the last 30, 40 years you would find someone doing it, well, in fact everyone doing it in the West. So one has to be a bit more careful about censoring things which there may be a leeway. It is better to not call someone, and be on the caution side, to not call someone innovator, than erring on the other side, and do so thereby causing yourself to be in a big trouble on the day of judgment, and be muflis, the bankrupt, when they come back to you and say, Ya Allah, He charged us with this particular innovation and said that we've done this, though it wasn't. Then what would your answer be? So stay quiet. Don't do it. Don't believe it either way. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. One does not need to have it. And as I said, I don't do it. You don't have to do it likewise. Don't censure it. Those who do it, let them do it. Don't say it's okay. Don't say it's not okay. That's a middle ground. Stay on the middle ground. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand.